Good morning. It's the Wall Street Weekly Wrap Up, Saturday, October 18th, 2025. And I'm your host, John Newquist. And was it a good week? Yes, it was a great week again. But a new stock, and we'll talk about it. We're going to do some things. We're going to actually do some shorts out there because I was, like I said, it was banned and all that stuff. And I was promoting on Threads, but I'm going to start promoting it on YouTube Shorts because, Jessica AE, Google AI, is said, hey, you're not doing this. You're missing a big opportunity to talk about your stocks on the shorts because people are looking at these less than 3 minute videos. Okay, we'll try it. I'll still advertise on Blue Sky, and other ones. But the next gen portfolio, we were 18.32 last week. We're up at 19.28. The government is still shut down. The stocks are starting to break trend and rolling over, and you'll see this. This is what I'm kind of watching. Nobody really wants to talk about it, but it's. Is it bothering me? No, because I've been predicting correction, but doesn't mean I want it. 22% of the managers are beating the benchmarks. That's the S&P. If you're in the overall fund, that's the benchmark we want to beat. If you're all tech like Kathy Woods and you want to beat the Nasdaq, 22%. And I trust Tom on that number because that's what they do over there. They look at this stuff. They see all these funds. So how are we doing? Like I said, we're beating both of them. And this is just from my Schwab portfolio where they just tell you. So I don't have to do any math. I remember doing all that calculation like 10 years ago. Like once a quarter, I would do it. And then they said it was a Zoom report that crashed. You see that? Zoom crashed. And I was thinking about buying Zoom stock just because I like Zoom. Then it crashes. All right, let's get into it. We're at 19.5. Our benchmark we beat. We're at 6% above. It's close. 0.2%. We're 6% above the S&P 500. That's stunning. That is 50% higher almost. Remember our goal. I mean, I was thinking we'd do about 8% this year. 8, 10%. NASDAQ, we're still beating. We're not even a tech fund. We have very small position in NASDAQ stocks that are, what I call it. I mean, yeah, we have communication. Well, you own Microsoft. Well, I know, but that's a different issue. Well, you own Meta. I know, but when I look at techs, we have, NVDA, we have ARM, and we have Taiwan Semiconductor. And that's our tech. I mean, we try to limit it. It's tough not to jump in all these other ones in here. But here's the rollover. We got the trend coming up for the Qs, QQQs, and it broke down. This means usually it goes down further. I mean, could we go down about 90? Sure, we could drop another 10 points on the NASDAQ. Worst case, 530, which nobody wants to see. But this is an issue that I think is going to be important, and it's one that I'm watching. And just put on the antacid and take a look at it because it's not going to be a good ride probably the rest of the month into November if it keeps on rolling over. And there's a lot of things happening too. People want to get in on lower things. There's a lot of, I call it, I missed a rally, so I'm going to dismiss the rally. Isn't that kind of interesting? I got out in April, back over here, and I missed this run. And so I'm just saying it's a bubble, it's everything. And, dismiss the rally because you missed the rally, because I can rhyme. Russell 200, 2000, up a little bit. It's trailing. You think about it, it's behind it. With lower interest rates, it will be beneficial. So I think it'll probably be up maybe another 3, 4, 5% this year. I mean, I think the Russell's going to benefit the most with interest cuts.
This is a reminder. I see you bought many things on Amazon. Why?
All right.
This is a reminder. I see you bought many things on Amazon. Why?
Well, I bought it because I started realizing, since I've left Prime, Amazon, like Alexa, always reminds me of, what I'm missing in my cart. So I just put them all in the cart and I didn't think about it. And once I got, like 30, 40, 50, little Prime is starting to give me free shipping.
This is a reminder. Watch off.
Okay. Alexa, stop. See, It's like you have a personal assistant. My watch is at 99% charge. See, my old Fitbit, I love it. And the Pixel 4, maybe. I want to make the phone call, like the iPhone. I mean, if Amazon glasses 4 years ago could make the phone calls, I would like to make the phone calls off that phone because it works. I mean, I think it's a lot better. But we'll see. It's a little bit later. But I bought it because next thing you know, I get free Prime shipping. That's the whole purpose of having Prime in the first place, was free shipping. And I don't get it next day, but I get it like 2 days, which when you're just putting stuff in the cart over time, I think it was like 13 items. And I just ordered it once, and everything's free shipping. Even though it's not going to come at once, it's going to be coming in 3 different packages. Everything's free shipping. So I was surprised, I mean, not that I'm looking at, just trying to be frugal. I went to Walmart Plus. Negative on the Walmart Plus is that they want you to tip the driver. Not that I don't like that. It's just that if you order $60, what's a fair tip to the driver? 10%? Sure. Now you start thinking, now I'm paying a lot more. You got to look at the total price, and that's an issue. So, I mean, I understand. They're probably door dashing it. I don't know who's doing it. It's not like I see the same people. So, but it is an issue, and I kind of like Target. You just go to Target, pick it up, and that's it. You can do that with Walmart, but my God, there's a lot of people ordering and just picking up I mean, they got like 20 slots, and sometimes all 20 is filled with people. Literally, you just order, pick up the groceries, and they tell the delivery people, don't give them any money. I always talk to them. Some won't take it. When you give them $5 or $3, they'll take it, and they won't, because how are you going to notice it? Even though I got all the cameras, I just, you do all this work of loading the car up. I think give them something, right? At least, me, because I was a valet. I remember what it's like to just live on tips. All right, let's take a look at the indicators. Crude oil. Oh my God. They had the OPEC meeting. They raised production. There they are. And $57. A lot of people are out there and like, this is bad. And this is not the oil chart, but it's an interesting thing. We're coming up in wintertime, and a little less driving, a little more heating oil use because it's going to be cold probably again. Natural gas above 3 is as expected. As we start to come into the wintertime, natural gas is going to be 3. Now, we're always watching where will it go. Generally 3.5, 4 this year probably. I wouldn't be surprised if it pokes above 4. I don't think it'll get above 5, but we're all watching it because, it depends how cold the winter is. With global warming, it's been trending a little bit, or, they don't call it global warming, it's climate change, whatever. I just noticed it's warmer. That's the big thing. Gold, man, we broke above 4,000. Now we're at 4,200. It went down $92 Friday, but it's still high. Geez, that's great. Silver, I had to put the chart. Man, we've been waiting for 50 years, for 1980, whatever that is, math. 45 years of silver to break the 50 from the Hunt brothers trying to corner the market. Got up to about 53 something, came back down. Remember, it's going to pull back some. But that's a nice chart. That's a memorable chart. And, and think about it, I always compare the April lows. How did it do to the April lows? And silver, not bad. It didn't double. A lot of stocks doubled. So, everybody who talks about how great they're doing since April lows, since they don't want to talk about, how they've done for the year. But, of course, everybody's going to do great since the April lows. I don't care what you were in only. Copper just went a little bit below 5, and that's okay. We got to look at the gold chart. I mean, just because it is so good. And then you take the number one gold producer, FCX. It doesn't look like this chart at all. It's like, boy, is this guy like cardiac arrest? It's just quivering, and it's not pumping gold, and it's not a good thing. So, I mean, this is an issue. And I know they had the Indonesian mine collapse. That's the big drop here. But the gold is still there. Who's going to benefit from the higher gold? FCX. Did the gold double its rate for mining? No, there's going to be expenses to clean up Indonesia, and the families unfortunately lost some people. But the gold's there. They're going to make the gold, and it's going to make them more money every time they ounce of gold out of the mountain and stuff. So you think about it, that's not a bad deal. I mean, this kind of chart right here should have told us around about mid-August we were rising. We're doing kind of like bad, but April, look at gold in April. It came up a little bit. We had just a little bit of downcline. So gold's been really pretty good for the year. I mean, if you kind of look at it, we were at 2,600 or so, 46, not doubled, not doubled. So you just have to remember it's been solid, but most people would be happy. You know, it's killing the S&P and the Nasdaq and everything else, the index-wise, even Bitcoin. Our stock we bought Monday at the open. And people are like, why would you ever buy? You know, my rule is wait 90 minutes. No, because they did a deal with Brookfield to provide fuel cells. Now, you know, when I picked the original clean energy group and stuff, you know, that was, let's see what
This is a reminder. Where do you see Bitcoin going? It's collapsing.
I know it's collapsing.
This is a reminder. Where do you see Bitcoin going? It's collapsing.
You know, I learned you can't map Bitcoin, probably by 125. I think it'll break back up to 126. You know, it kind of tracks the market. And if, you know, it's kind of like, you know, somebody, I think it was somebody like said it either 1 month ahead or 1 month behind the NASDAQ. And so if the NASDAQ is doing well and setting records, I think Bitcoin will set a record a month from now. So, I mean, that's going to be an issue. And that's something we want to take a look at. So, Bloom Energy, BE, has fuel cells, and that's what they're going to look like. You know, little refrigerator boxes of solid fuel. They're going to not use the other storage, and again, they can convert the energy that's been stored from solar and everything else, and they can provide it through hydrogen. They've got the deals with Oracle, AEP. AEP and Oracle are monster companies. So, you know, the power plant in Ohio is AEP. Equinix, I really don't know what it is. I mean, I'm sure I could look it up, but now we got, you know, but three companies are using their stuff. So this is what I call major first mover. They are the clean energy that's doing the work at the data centers because, like DeSantis said, you want the data center, bring your energy, and this is the energy you're going to probably bring along with solar and wind and contracts with nuclear plants and everything else. So they're using solid fuel oxide, which is a little bit different from other technologies. You know, some of them are hydrogen based and everything else. But they're going to talk about, you know, they've got 1.5 gigawatts of fuel cells. They want to get to 10. So you're looking, their goal, ding, 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 6 times. So this is why the stock has jumped. I mean, if you bought it at the lows in April around 20, you've caught, you know, 5 times your money. And people say, why would you still buy it? I said, this Brookfield deal, it jumped the stock, of course, because now we have a clear company that's doing well. Could it get better? Sure. Why, if Oracle's going to use them and Brookfield's going to use them, you may see this be the fuel cells of choice. And our other baskets of one may not do it. They're riding along, figuring the market's so big they're going to get some benefit. But this is the company that could be, you know, maybe taking over and doing real well because obviously it seems to be working well at the right price. So our stock of the week, as I call it, the only one we buy. Remember, we don't trade very often. So JP Morgan, you know, they launched a 1.5 trillion 10-year plan. That's a lot of money to go for areas they feel are critical to the U.S. economy and strategic security. Why is that important? Because, you know, JP Morgan, of course, 1,000 analysts seems like, and but I was interested in the areas that they thought was important, and we're going to spend a little time on it because this gives you the what I call megatrend of the future. You know, if you want to go map out the next 5 years to 2030, what are the areas that, you know, that it's going to benefit? It's defense, advanced manufacturing, critical materials, minerals, AI, cybersecurity, quantum energy, and energy resilience. And then, of course, the U.S. got the big over-reliance on foreign supplies. We're watching the Chinese and the president and Besant argue about the rare earths. Everybody's getting, you know, controls on rare earths, and it's not fair, and they can't get the stuff here because it's not, you know, commercially made. It's going to affect autos, aviation, everything. So I just showed, like, if I had to pick a defense company, I would always go back to LMT. We had LMT for years, but look at this thing. You know, again, April really didn't do so much. It went good, and then it dropped, you know, and then it shot back up, and now it's coming back down. This is the rollover again, and that's going to be an issue. Let's go into further. Let's go into the 7 sectors, and then I'm going to name what I think are the best, you know, and I put in the blue which ones, you know, they think are in there. We'll go into the right side. The AI investments is a share of GDP growth. You know, when we look at what we're seeing from AI revenues and the money put into it, it's a third of dollars almost. You know, it's been kind of like in the 10, 20, you know, not even 10 to 15% for most of the quarters. As other things contract, this is where the money's coming at, and that's where it's going. So could be, you know, a lot of money hoping for a lot of return, which may not happen. Remember, there's a lot of AI startups and everything else that have not made any money, i.e., ChatGPT. What is it? $1 trillion market cap with what, 12 billion in revenue? There's your bubble on an AI stock if it was a stock. But you know, I look at it, if you just went pure AI chips, it would be NVDA for sure, and then you know Lisa Su and AMD would be right up there. Northrop is a defense one. If I had to pick another one, it would be Northrop. Critical materials, man, that's one I know it's going to be big. You know, the big beautiful bill's got billions allocated for it because they know they cannot depend on China. So that's MP and gold, and of course silver. Gold, FCX, number one gold, number one copper. You got to be in that stock. I mean, of course, it's going. A lot of people are like, I'm not in that choppy stock. That stock is, I'll just buy pure gold, and that's what people are doing. Fine. Cybersecurity, we're not in the area because, you know, it's just tech, and I don't want to have a lot of tech. So, but, you know, Palo Alto, CrowdStrike are top companies. Semiconductors, of course. ASML missed revenues, and they dropped a bit, but they're pretty good for, you know, semiconductor manufacturing. And then quantum computing, again, tech. If I would buy one, I'd probably go into IBM because I think they made the best quantum computer out there. And
this is a reminder. Why are 22% of the fund managers only beating the S&P 500?
Because they missed the April
this is a reminder.
Low as an opportunity to get in. They bailed.
Why are 22% of the fund managers only beating the S&P 500?
They got out in April. They put the money to the side. They were so heavy on cash. I mean, you know, they didn't sell everything that they had, but they got out. And when you get out of the market at the bottom, that's not what's going to be good for your portfolio because it's going to bounce up. And you know, Tom Lee always says the most hated V-shaped rally. Well, anytime you miss a rally, it's hate. I don't care if it's a U rally or a K rally or whatever it is. It's going to be hated, and that's why they're upset. And that's why you have to remember. If you have 78% of people who are trailing the thing, there's a lot of bitterness because they may lose 10, 20, 30, 50% of their investors because they said, well, you can't even beat the Vanguard S&P 500 index. Why am I paying 1-2% load on my managed fund? You're not even, if you just follow us, it's all free. And we're up above it, 6%. If they were above 6% above the S&P 500, kind of like Kathy Wood and ARK is above the NASDAQ, you see them crow about it. Of course, people got burned pretty bad when they didn't do so good at ARK, in a few years before. Energy resilience, we've been in knee forever. NextEra, clean energy, solar, wind, everything. Fluence, why does that highlight? Fluence is kind of like a meme stock now too, but it would have Fluence. And then advanced manufacturing, Rockwell and Honeywell, again, we're good in manufacturing, so we don't need to add any more. And, it's just, like I said, these are the sectors, and wouldn't be hurting to be in there. Ideally, you'd say, okay, I'll pick one of each of these, but I go by my 12 sectors, and we don't want to overload tech, because that's how you got burned in 2000. Google's going to spend $15 billion. Didn't get any blip on the news, but I thought it was pretty interesting, because you got to remember, I think the trend is every major company in the top 20, at least, the G20, will want to have several data centers. They do not want to rely on U.S. data centers and stuff like that. They'll want to get it up there. They're going to use chips. Google makes a lot of their own chips with it, so we'll see, who's going to be putting their chips in the India data center. But this is good news because this is showing we're seeing the break. England's got a data center coming up. Next thing you know, we're going to get France, Germany, Spain, Switzerland. These are all going to be up there, and they're all going to be using the U.S. companies and the different technologies. So this is why I don't think the bubble in AI is just a U.S. phenomenon. This is showing it's going. And then we start getting in there. Samsung wants to build their data center. Japan, Taiwan, everybody wants this. They know this thing is big. It's incredible, what we're seeing. I was able to make a photo from the 19 old days, make it dance, put the Beatles behind it and everything. And it's just amazing that, you can clear up the photos. You can make people who are smile and laugh. I mean, isn't it crazy that you could make somebody who's always grumpy smile? I should take Mr. Grumpy and make him smile and see what that could do. But I find it fascinating. So, I mean, I hate to say I play with AI all the time and the different AI softwares. Okay, J.P. Morgan. It was earnings week. I always start out with the banks because that's ones that used. I mean, it used to be the old days of, Alcoa. I always look forward to Alcoa because they started the thing. But now it's the banks, and revenue is 8.8. That's good. 2.5 book. So the old adage of banks. If you said buy at 1, sell at 2, you wouldn't be in J.P. Morgan for a long time, and you missed this. Again, this is a rollover. See it? Came up, now it's starting to roll down.
This is a reminder. Are we in an AI bubble?
I don't think so. I don't think we are in an AI bubble.
This is a reminder. Are we in an AI bubble?
I mean, we just got, Naperville's got a data center coming up. I didn't hear the dollar amount, but it's big, and there, people signed petitions because they wanted some concessions. But Yorkville, they're going to get 15 billion. Mount Pleasant, the best in the world. Open up 26 will be 10 times stronger than anything in the world. Yorkville is going to put in 15 billion. In Joliet, it's going to be 23 billion. There's some serious money on the side that want to get into this data center. And who's going to be buying the chips? Those people. You got to put chips in there. It's going to be probably NVIDIA. Everybody knows 25 is sold out. 2025. You want to chip NVIDIA? It's like McDonald's. I'm sorry, we don't have Big Macs till next year. They can't make the chips fast enough at Taiwan Semiconductor and NVIDIA. So that's why AMD is picking up, and that's why they're trying to do Intel and other things. So I don't see it. I mean, I could see a point where we overbuild on the data centers, and then the money isn't there anymore. That I could see, but it's the rest of the world. It's just first inning. It's just the first inning in the rest of the world. We might be in it, because they always like the baseball analogy. We might be inning 5 in the United States. The rest of the world is in the opening start of the inning. So again, NVIDIA Spark $39.99. This is what it's going to look like. 128 gigs of memory, compact desktop form. That's the little laptop or desktop. I call it a laptop. You can run inference on AI models with a Grace Hopper. Grace Hopper, really? But it's only $39.99, so I don't think it's the real Grace Hopper. It's got to be Grace Hopper Lite. Again, NVIDIA, we have the trend. The blue line is the trend, and we rolled past it. So, like I said, we got financials, we got techs, we got defense, all rolling over. Excuse me. That's not a good thing. So, smallest AI supercomputer, and it'll sell out. I can guarantee it. People got money to buy it. I just, paid money for a state-of-the-art computer. So, I gave up because this was supposed to be out of May. So, I was thinking NVIDIA would never get this thing out, and, maybe next May. But this is it. So, it's out there, and, be curious. I want to, like I said, let's watch it. We can get it next year maybe. Morgan Stanley, good earnings, 18%. Remember, 8.8 for J.P. Morgan. Morgan Stanley merger acquisitions, wealth management. They didn't roll over yet. They're running strong. I mean, people liked the earnings, and the growth was good. They beat. Everything is good. Taiwan Semi, man, 40% revenue growth. Remember, we want techs to be at least double digits. Taiwan's not even close. They're right up there, not as close as NVIDIA. But they're good. They're one of the three kings. ARM is the trailer of the three, but ARM is the processor, CPU, for the Grace Hopper, the Blackwell, and eventually the Vera Rubin one. So until we have that component. Remember, everything has to have that in there unless you got AMD chips, which is not plentiful. Whatever AMD is making, they've probably sold out, and they got contracts from everybody. Everybody's made contracts. You got to give us so much by 2026 and 27 because that's it. And they hope they're good as NVIDIA. They hope. We'll see. because you got to you build. I mean, you build these data centers with all these trillions on the side, and guess what? They don't have the chips. So, and the idea is that if everybody does these big long wars and long contracts, that's what's going to happen. So, outstanding earnings. Again, they haven't rolled over to, and this is kind of a slower chart. So pretty good.
This is a reminder. When will the government shutdown end?
Oh, they didn't get the paycheck.
This is a reminder. When will the government shutdown end?
I'm anti-government shutdown. I mean, I understand both sides and everything else, but I don't think it. You got to remember, these people are working. They got 70% of their pay this week. Next week and a half or so, they'll get nothing. And that's going to affect air travel. There will be people who said, man, I didn't get a check. I'm not coming in today. I don't feel good. That's not good. I tell you, when you start clogging the airports and people scream at, no matter what it is, Congress, whatever, it'll be over. That's all you have to do. Once the airports jam up like they did before, and TSAs can't, got people calling in sick, just saying, well, because you think about it, why would you bust your butt? You're not getting paid, and you don't even know if you'll get paid. You got the president saying, I don't think we'll pay him once we come back. Good. I'm not getting paid now. I'll just take off. I mean, that's really, what, and they vote every day. It doesn't happen. So, and then the military, like I said, you can't be out there and not paying the soldiers. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, not like you're making a lot of money as an E3, E4 soldier, and you're, if you have a family, it's tough living. They're working a lot of times other jobs. So, the banks had a lot of bad issues this week. Zion and Western Alliance, victims of fraud tying to commercial real estate, shades of 2007. And I didn't get much into it, but when they tell me it was, because I was trying to figure out what was it. It wasn't like a Bitcoin thing. No, it was real estate. Oh, we got a lot of real estate that's supposed to be AAA rated bonds, and they're subprime dog doo. Not good. That's go watch The Big Short again and realize it. I mean, these are big billion-dollar banks, trillion-dollar banks. Jeffries, First Brands, and J.P. Morgan even got stung with the third to Tricolor Auto. And what I watch is the sector. Okay, real estate having problems. Auto sector, of course, $50,000 the average car now. That's going to be an issue. Okay, so Citibank, another good one, 9.3. I mean, anything like this is good. What you don't want is like 1%. Because you got the money, you can put it aside. You should be able to beat the the 2-year. If the 2 years at 3.5, your rates should be that, because you can't be losing money. BlackRock, just monster company. Look at this, 25%. This is like a tech stock, and it's financial and everything else. Where was the jump at? The ETFs. Everybody's hopping on the gold ETF, and anything they have for they want to invest in. China ETF. I mean, I don't know. Would it be nice to see the breakdown, but it doesn't really matter. It's just people are liking this. Instead of going in the individual stocks, just take the sector. The fees are low, so. But BlackRock's, hasn't rolled over. It's still above the blue trend. So this is, stuff that you look at, and will it roll over? I don't know. It depends how much the trend, how much we want to go down, but they're doing good. And of course, people, this will eventually converge, and it'll have to break out. And if it breaks up good, that's a good sign. Breaks down bad, not to be buying then. Wells Fargo, just another bank that 5%. So if you want to look at the banks, Wells Fargo probably the lower one, but still above our the interest rates and stuff. Like the 10 years, like 401, and almost broke below 4, which would be pretty big news. So again, still good trend. So banks, not bad overall, but they're over. Like J.P. Morgan's rolling over.
This is a reminder. Will gold go to 5,000?
See, we broke 4,000. Now they want 5,000.
This is a reminder.
There's always no time not to buy gold. If anything else, I've dealt with gold since I was a kid. Every day is a good time to buy gold. Doesn't matter if it's collapsed. Doesn't matter if it's setting records. They're interested in selling gold. They're not interested in you sitting there talking about stocks. They want you to buy everything you got, put it in gold. And if you go down, well, too bad. It's like gold bugs. We called them gold bugs back then. And probably still call them that. But all they do is talk about gold and how you need to put everything into gold, and it's a safe currency. It's a real currency. Centuries of proven things. True. Like I said, no matter how bad it gets, you pull out a tenth of gold, you got money. No matter where it is, nothing is going to take away that tenth of gold money. It's still got value. I don't know if you can pull an ounce of gold and say, hey, can you cash $4,000 bill for me? No. Goldman Sachs, another great one. Again, merger acquisitions. Look at it rolling over, though. Just kind of like J.P. Morgan. So we got the leaders, kind of rolling over, and this is where it can go. That's why I'm always kind of like saying, if you just ease into stuff. If you're going to be brand new by 10th quarter, whatever you want, just ease in for the next couple months. Don't be out there. Bitcoin 107. Boy, people are having a heart attack. 126. Boom. Not even a month. You're down to 106. If you and this is no different. I mean, all of them, Ethereum, Solana, XRP. So. I bought some Solana. I look at the future. I mean, I think XRP and Solana are going to be the ones who are going to win. We'll see. We'll see. But a lot of these other ones, are just doing. And Bitcoin is in there. If you want to buy Bitcoin, look at this. You're really kind of getting it since the lows here. You're not getting as low as it was in June when it was 70,000, but if you want to start buying some more, this is not a bad time. People, like I said, they run out the door when it's on sale, and there's only a limited amount of Bitcoin. It's not like it's got infinite supply. So, infinite divisions, apparently. Utilities rolled over. It's dropped pretty much. This is, one sector that's been a lot. And that's interesting because the earnings overall are pretty good. Enbridge, don't look at these numbers. One thing about utilities, these numbers jump a lot. Like we own Southern, it's down. It went down over 5%. Means anything blue went over 5% revenue growth from the previous quarter. I showed the wrong one. I should have had the XLU utilities, not XLE energy. Oh well, never mind. Because energy prices are low. I was trying to figure that out, so I had the wrong chart. See, happens to everybody. NextEra, not a rollover. Bust above the trend, keep crushing it because energy is the most valuable commodity to a data center. It's going to be up there. Good dividend. We've had NextEra forever. Years. Like decades. Southern, you pick a good utility company that's well managed. 3% dividend. It's not bad. If this thing dividend rates go down lower, and not bad, but good trend. I like utilities slowly growing, and that's good. Heat map, boy. Remember they popped Oracle. They got they jumped Oracle like it was a tech stock. What was it, 25% in one day? And this is hundreds of $1 billion companies. So starting to give back. Same thing for Broadcom. Lilly, Ozempic is going to be cheaper according to the president yesterday. So Lilly's going to take a hit because it's going to make Ozempic cheaper. That means Lilly's got to match the price. Caterpillar, really no news, on the Caterpillar front.
This is a reminder. Why is there $7 trillion on the side?
Well,
this is a reminder. Why is there $7 trillion on the side?
If you do the 110 or 100 formula, let's say you're 60 years old, you're coming close to retirement, and if you used 110, which is what I use, you would take 110 minus 60, 50% should be in the side for bonds, stable income. I.e., as you get older, you put more and more money into bonds and steady income, so when the collapse hits, you're to have money there. You're not going to be like my friends in 2007 with $450,000, $500,000, $600,000 go down to $100,000. I watched people $700,000 down to $100,000 because they were in high-tech, high-risk stocks. How do you come back from that? You don't. You sold out at $100,000 and you just basically lost 85% of your worth, and you work until you're 75 because you can't retire. That's why people do it. You want a source of it, and we're in the same way. You know, ours is in real estate bonds. We're not getting. We have this, you know, but this is a small percentage. Not, you know, I mean, it's a little bit more. It's a little bit less than what we should have, but we add to it. So it's just real estate side has picked up more than I would have ever imagined. So, but a lot of stuff, you know, overall good grain week, you know, for everybody. Even Apple went up. But longer show. We'll see you next week. We did good. Just remember that we did good. Our baskets of clean energy stocks, Fuel Cell, Plug Power, Fluence, and now Bloom Energy. Super hot, like meme stock, super hot. I'll talk to you later. Have a good week and have a good, nice, warm weekend.